Hello and welcome to this very special video. I'm saying special multiple time because it is one of the most difficult videos that we're going to really study for this class. And I especially put it in the middle in order for us to take the time in order to understand how this subject actually being applied. We're not going to make it really difficult. I adopted a paper from a really easy paper to read. I'm going to be able to attach it to you. And it's a regression in Griddle. Also, I'll show you how to download this amazing little tiny statistical package, very similar to SPSS and large. You know, SPSS is very large, very graphical, very powerful, but Griddle does that most of the thing that it does, also with huge emphasis in regression. I liked it a lot, so it's free. I'm not going to really worry about paying any money, so I'll show you how to download it and work with it. The topic is using panel data. The panel data is really special type of regression that we could not really afford taking a class in econometrics without having some sort of discussion about it. Typically, we have three types of data which we need to be able to look at in economics. The time series, we're going to have additional time to understand this fully. This is a very common type of data, and it's very easily used and accessible. We could see that later. Cross-section, this is really difficult to relate to because we don't really use it every day. Usually observed over geographic or demographic groups. Let me take an example that's provided by this article. Don't forget this article has this URL in it, so we need to give a credit for the people I got that article from. Very easy to read. Actually, it's a Taiwanese article. If we observe data in the unemployment rate for each of the 50 states in the United States, along with Washington, D.C., that will give us 51 observation. Of course, there is one variable in employment. Then we can cross-sectional. This is here what we call cross-sectional. Another variable we think it's very important or related to unemployment, such as like suicide rate, crime rates, any other variable we feel. Of course, I'm not going to read it word by word. You're going to be able to read that in your own. So cross-sectional is really usually observed type of data and over large geographical area, multiple entity, usually multiple object, multiple people. So what we're going to do here, if you notice, we talked about time series. We understand all, in general, a time series over a long period of time. We observe the same exact object over and over. Cross-section, here we're talking about multiple objects that are being observed. And here, the panel data is really that combine both the time series and that combined time series, and also combines with the cross-section. So it's the combination of both type of data, so the power of both of them. So here we go. I'm going to read it actually this time because it's really very important, and I know you're going to read it on your own. This is to combine both of them. We have a cross-section, but we observe the cross-section over time. So it's really a time series in connection with the cross-section. So this is what we're going to be looking at, and you'll be able to work through this. We're going to be working through this example together. So let's assume that we have a country with 5 states. These 5 states are A, B, C, D, E. We're not going to go over 50 states. That's going to get us lost in the process since this is the very first one. And historically, we'll looked at what we call single linear regression or multiple linear regression, where we could create a model based on the fact that we have beta 0 plus beta 1x plus the error that we have observed in a previous discussion. So in this case, we have we can run that, but if we do run this, we're going to be ended up with first of all 5 states. It's A, B, C, D, E, and each state is going to be observed in order to make the time series meaningful at least more than one time. So let's go ahead and get it to the minimum possible, which is 2 times period. So if you multiply by 5 by 2, we're going to get 10 combination of both observed 5 states. With each state is going to be observed in 2 times period. So that's going to give us a collection of 10 pieces of data, pair of data. If we put all the data together and do not make any distinction between cross-section and time series, we're going to get what we call pooled data organization. We're going to run what we call the ordinal the least square pooled, or the least square that we have seen also is called linear regression, often used in for creating a trend line, and the thing that we have worked with repeatedly. So we're going to really come up with some errors, because this is not really going to be clear if the data is going to really distinguish between the time and also the cross-sectional, which has to do with the state. So we need to organize the data differently. We could organize it in two different ways. The first way, we could go ahead and call it stacked cross-section. So we have a stacked cross-section where we're going to really mention first, and here there is a mistake here they did. I want it to be, I'm going to go ahead and change it. It's really, somehow the publisher did make a mistake by referring to Y and as X and X as Y. So I'm going to change them as long we understand in order to run the test, because they corrected themselves down. So we have here 5 states, A, B, C, D, E. Those are the I index in my relationship, because just like a set theory, you understand each element have its own index. So we have A1, A, B1, C1, D1, E1, A2, B2, C2, and D2, and E2. Then we have actually I shouldn't say A2 and B2 and C2, because A1, it's going to be time 1, because the time A11, so it's going to be the Y is going to be 7 and X is going to be 1. That's the observed model. Then we're going to have here B, which is going to be the second state, yes, and now time is still 1, so it's going to be 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1 for D, and 5, 1. Now here it's going to be 1, 2, and 1, 2, 2. Just like a matrix, 2, 3, and 3, what do you call it, 4, 2, and 5, 5, 2. So this is basically, we stack them as a cross section. So the section first pertaining to the state, which is I, and time, which is T. So please understand that the T here is going to be the distinction that is going to separate what state that we observed at what time. So state is going to come first. That's the cross section, stacked cross section. We could actually go ahead and do another type of stacked, which is going to be stacked by time series. And again, I gotta go ahead and change this to Y. Now instead of doing it 5 state at a time, we're gonna do 1 state at a time with each 2 times period. Okay, so this is going to be X here. So what are we gonna do here? We're going to say here A1, which is going to be A1 with 1 with the time zone. Then A is going to be A1, 1, 1, A1, 2. Then we're going to go ahead and do, this is B, which is 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 3, 1, 3, 2, 4. But you notice here the selection is going to be based on the time we are actually specifying it on time. Here we specified it onto the state. So if we've started with the state, then followed it by the time, this is very, very important distinction, then we have what we call the stacked cross section. If we started, by thinking about the time, meaning dividing it based on the time, because we have two period of time, then it's going to be called the stacked time series. The end result is to copy these values here, how we listed them here, into Excel in that format, And also for this is actually the stack cross section. However, we mentioned it here, and here is going to be the time series, stack time series. So please notice this is really going to be a little bit hard for some of you if you don't know how matrix works and how set theories in relation to the fact that every set has its own index. And if we have two dimension to multiple, let me go ahead and do it in Excel. Maybe you'll be able to see it better that way. Since we have 5 by 2, that's going to give me 10 total, and we're going to get 10 total of those. So if I have here, for the first one, I have 1, 2, 3, here we go, 3, 4, 5. I'm trying to be creative here. Those actually the states, the state for each one. Then we have time 1 and 2. Then I have here, let's say for this one here, I would have, okay, let me go ahead and make it a little bit larger so I'll be able to see it. Here we go. Go ahead and hit that enter. Make it a little bit larger so I'll be able to see it a little bit better. All right, here we go. So this is basically, it's going to be, let's say, for this specific one, it's going to be Y, and it's going to be, let's go ahead and put it Y, concatenation with this value here. Okay, now we have also the 1 for this case, because the first time it's going to be 1. Okay, so constants. So we have, those are 1, 1, 1. Here we go. Then we're going to end up with the value 1, 1, Y2. And I could go ahead and copy those also from here to see this, what we call the stacked cross section. So I could go ahead and say, okay, still Y, of course, between double quotation, ampersand is still this one here. However, now our time has become 2 because we have 2 time period. And here we go as a result. So you'll be able to see it. It's going to be 2, 2. Everything is going to be 2, 2, 2. So that's why this, the 1 is going to be A, 2 is B for the state, 3 is the C, and 4 is the D, and 5 is the E. This is what we call the stacked cross section. Okay, so also for you to understand, that will help you actually when you read it better, visualize this. When we talk about the stacked time series, the stacked time series, of course, we're going to go ahead and now deal with A at the time. So series, here we go. For example, in the first one, we're going to deal with 1, 1. Here we go, 1 second here, 1, 1. And then we're going to do 2, 2, then 3, 3, then let's go ahead and do, okay, 4, 4, and 5, 5, because the states are going to be repeated for, this is going to be 1, 2, 1, 2. And I could go ahead and copy this basically through all this. Here we go. So just copy it as it is, so I don't have to repeat it. So basically, with this is actually the state, okay, A, B, just when you do a number of the index, the state A is 1, we could easily change that to ABC if you want. I'll show it to you in a second. So how this is going to look like in the stack, it's going to be Y. It's going to be concatenated with this. and concatenate it with this as well. So we could go ahead and make it very quickly because we're running out of time with the video here. And here we go. We got, this is the time series. This is the stack time series. If I change this to ABC, look here, because the state we're talking about versus the time. Okay, here we go. It's going to be, here we go. So you could take your time and look at it. Again, I could go ahead and copy this and paste it right really here. So you'll be able to visualize if you want to use the letter instead of the number. And here, both of them are going to be A. So this is AA here, for okay. And also this is A here. And I could say here, very quickly, I could say here, replace 2 by B, but it's easier to type it in this case. In this case, here we go. This is C, C, and this is D, and this is D. This is either, believe me, there's a million ways of Excel to manipulate things a lot faster. So here, if you wanted to go ahead and do things differently, that's fine. You could go ahead and see the index is C2 instead of, in that case, C is a 3, so it's going to be 3, 2. And here is 3, 1. So please take your time to see this, how the stacked time series is working and how the stacked cross section working. Anyway, let's go back to our document very quickly, and later we're going to go ahead and show you how to, after we arrange this, so we're going to arrange that. I have that into a, we're going to go ahead and get a Griddle. Griddle is a software, as I said, that will be able to help you greatly with this because Excel is not going to be able to do it. And that's the only time in this class that we're not going to really be able to use Excel for what we really want. However, it could work with Excel very beautifully. So let's go ahead and do that. And I'm going to go ahead and show you how to download this software. And you're going to go to google.com and you're going to say here download. I'm going to go ahead and show you not to download it from a website that is not pertaining to the right website, because if you really don't download it from this website, I don't know what kind of viruses you might get. I'm not going to be responsible for that, but let's go ahead and say Griddle download. Okay, and here we go. So you need to see the source forge.net, and here it is. You know, this is where actually the save is download, and I could click on download here. Okay, immediately it added for me. Okay, it's gonna start in a second. Don't accept anything that pop up on your screen or you know, all that junk that might be able to trick you to click on a checkbox in there and download something that you don't want to really. I already downloaded it and already installed it, so it's ready to be installed. So you're going to click on that. Here we go. I'm going to actually walk with you through it because it's going to overwrite mine. Say OK. All right. So first of all, I don't need to see that anymore because I'm done with it. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and close my magnifier. That sometimes it doesn't help at all. So it's right here. Say English. It's going to overwrite mine. Already installed it. Okay, it's going to be, it's a small one, but it's going to be very, very, very powerful. You know, I'm going to go ahead and say add a Griddle, a directory to your path. So just make sure to take everything as it is. And here we go. In a second, you will see also an icon in the desktop associated with it. I know it's a long video, but it's really worth it. Okay, I could cut it and start another video, but you could suffer with me for a while. That's probably the only time it's going to really take this long. Okay, here we go. All right, so it's already been installed, and if you don't see it, you know, I'm going to go ahead and show you. I have a very, very busy, it's right here, it's in my desktop, but I'm not going to go ahead and expose all my crazy desktop to you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my, I have the Windows 10. If you have Windows 7, it's going to work the same thing. And just click type Griddle, and it shows you it's right here. See, it's a Griddle right here. The older griddles in that article were not able to open Excel file, but if you save it as an Excel file, you have to save it as 97-2003. So I always save my file in order to become universal as a CSV, which means a delimited type of data. And in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and delimit it as tab, which is that typical one. So now I already have that data into my somewhere into my folder. I'm going to grab it. I put if you look here, I typed that data directly like this. So I'm going to go ahead and use the stacked cross section, and I'm going to give you the time to play with the stacked time series yourself. So here, where is my data is going to look like this when I open my spreadsheet. Here it is. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that is okay. The stack data is here. Okay. All right. Let me go ahead and not save anything. Don't save anything. And I'm going to go ahead and open Excel one more time to get the data. Here we go. Open Excel. The reason I'm doing this because I overwrote my actual data, so I asked it not to save the file, so I'll be able to get it. And my computer is 3 years old, start to get back aches. Okay, so here we go. And I'm going to go ahead and see the stack data. And here it is. Actually, this is supposed to be, let me go ahead and see that. This is basically, I chained that one here. That's going to be Y and X. Okay, exactly like we have it here. So I'm going to show you that when I save this, just for you to know what you're going to do, when you save this, so before you, for future also tab, when you say save as, I'm going to save it to my computer, of course, and make sure that it's saved as either C, comma delimited, or in this case, I saved it as CSV, you know, like MS-DOS, CSV. I don't know if we have comma there. We don't have a comma, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And it's called stack data. You could call it whatever you want. Say you have that already exists. You want to overwrite it. I say yes. And it asks you one more time, do you want it to keep this format? You're going to lose any formatting or any bold, any underline. I said, yes, I need it to be a text file. So you know that the file is already there. And I'm going to go ahead and say, just save it and leave me alone. Okay, it's keep bothering me with those multiple. So it's normal, but it's when you save it as CSV, also don't be surprised. It's going to ask you constantly, do you want to really save it like this? Because it's things that you wanted to really discard all that type of formatting and pictures or whatever you had or coloration. All right, so let's go ahead and get to this one here. So we're going to go ahead and go to the file. Okay, and we're going to open the file. Okay, it's going to ask me from where. I'm going to say from user file. And now we're going to go ahead and also tell it I wanted the file to be CSV. And of course, I got to tell it where it is. It's in my, all right, here we go, desktop. I put everything in desktop. I'm guilty as it gets, you know. All right, so we have classes, we have TLU, we have Summer 2000, and we have data files, and here it is, my file. And it's going to read it. It's going to tell you, you know, all sorts of information about it. It has a number of columns too, number of variable too. I'll say, okay, just now it's asking you structure of data set, and I will go ahead and choose panel, PANEL. Here we go, and say forward. Okay. And it's say, do you want a stack time series or do you want a stack cross section? Of course, when you run this data here, this one here, you're going to say stack time series. Okay. All right. So we're going to go ahead and say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and change it to, you get out of my way here. Okay. and I'm going to go ahead and say stacked cross section, and we're going to say forward. Okay, now it's say number of cross-sectional units. That's the number, actually it's 5, because remember that cross-section is the state and the number of the time series is 2. So it already recognizes it as a 2 because we already changed it from 5. So really we need to take a moment here to understand that the cross-sectional, which really the varieties of places that we are really questioning. That's actually the 5 states, and that number of time period is 2 times period in time. And here we go. I'm going to say apply, confirm data structure. And in a second, once we do all that, it's going to really look really beautiful in no time. Here we go. Take that out. So it recognizes my variables and X and Y. And at that moment, I know that everything is going to be fine. And I'm going to go now to the model, and I'm going to say here, okay, let me go ahead and say panel. My eyes are really, and I must choose fixed or random effect. So now it's going to ask me, where is your dependent variable? Of course, it's my Y. Where is your independent variable? It's right here. And I'm not going to read the constants here. You could take it out. You will read that the only concern I have is to really go and see if the p-value, if there is a significant to it, in order also make sure that it's fixed effect here. Okay. In this case here, I'm going to go ahead and choose, and here we go. As you notice, immediately you're going to get all the story here. And first of all, the X is going to be 3, okay, and the B value for the X is 0.005. That's very significant, okay. And also you might be able to look at the B value for the F. Also, it's very small. It's 0.000347. So we can actually use this model as a predictor for our future. So we have X is 3, okay, and we have the constant 7, and you'll be able to use, first of all, this type of, you could use any model in the future for the panel data. I wouldn't worry about anything else at this moment except the fact that you could generate if the study that you have done between the 5 states in the 2 time period that you're located is going to be significant for you. And in this case, yes, it is significant. There is a lot more to data panel, a lot to discuss, but due to the nature of this class, and this is an introductory class to econometrics, I'm going to stick with it to this level. I just want you to be able to tell me if the B value has something to do with the significance, meaning you're going to reject or accept the null hypothesis, which is, in this case, we do accept the null hypothesis. I mean, we reject the null hypothesis, and there is a significance for the study between the states and the two time period that we observe that could be used as a decent model for a future prediction, knowing that the linear regression that we have used is not going to be adequate because it's going to be full of errors in this case. And remember, we have 2 types of data, as we have cross sections and we have time series, and of course the panel data, combine those together. I hope you enjoyed this. I know it's a little bit difficult than the actual normal. A lot of people who teach econometrics don't really discuss data panel. They leave it for a later, more harder topics, even in graduate school. But I know you're smart enough to handle it. It's only an exposure to it, and at least you could get also to play with the Griddle. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, G-R-E-T-L, a small software that you will notice that Excel cannot do everything, but only, I mean, it can do almost everything, but this specific type of application it cannot do, but we still used it in order to organize our data in order for a Griddle to read it. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate your patience. And here's Dr. Sam Hijazi. Good night.